Hello everyone, this is Kirti here, and we are yet again back in Careers Talk with another round of technical interview questions which can be asked to a Scrum Master or a Project Manager. So, without further ado, let's just get started. Thank you once again, Sunan, for giving me that opportunity to present my ideas to the bigger audience. So, thank you everyone for joining. Just let's start. Okay, so the first question is your team is frequently encountering build failures that are disrupting the development process. How would you identify the root cause of these build issues and implement a solution to minimize their occurrence? Describe your approach to maintain build stability. So here I would like to share an example of my previous organization where we were just in the process of setting up the build environments, and Hudson was the tool which we were using, and SVN was launched in our like in the development forum. So when we started doing that, earlier it was all manual process. So what happened was we saw that for 3 to 4 days, people were just overwriting each other's code or taking the pull of a failed code and just updating their own code base, right? So what was happening is to trace back what exactly and where exactly the build has failed was a very big tedious task. So because in one particular build there were a lot of commits which was happening by various other folks, right? So what we did was we first set up a automated monitoring tool to identify the build failure causes. So we started checking how frequently the dev build is in the failed state, what kind of, all those dashboards and alerts. Once the build failed, all the developers who have done the commit in that particular window, a mail used to shoot out to them with the error log, that where exactly the error is coming in the mail itself, marking all the stakeholders also in CC. Then after this thing, when we started collecting the data, we started doing the pattern analysis. What is happening? Is it somebody who is matured? Are the training needs needed? What are the branching strategy? How is there? We identified that there was also a dependency on an external jar which was not handled correctly in the build script, and due to which that uh, build issue was coming. And once the build issue was coming, people were just manually updating it, and for one time it was running, the next time again it was, when it used to pull the entire code, the updated code did not have the updated jar, and it failed. So what happened was, this kind of pattern analysis helped us to come to a conclusion that where exactly the fix needs to be done. Then we built on the build scripts. We worked with our DevOps team. The build.xml, we just updated it correctly, and that helped us to gain and the dashboard really helped us to keep the build in the success state. Also, the build used to happen once in a day, which we changed the frequency, and it started happening on every commit. So that really helped us to identify where exactly the build is failing. The next thing was, we conducted the retrospectives to understand the coding practices, the team practices, the coding standards. Is it communicated well? Any knowledge sharing session needed? What are the gaps? How do we make it better? So all those kind of retrospective sessions help teams to ramp up. The dashboard alerts, which I've already mentioned about, but it really was a good pictorial representation of the build failing and the build success with the sunshine, and the build failing with the rain. So that helped us to keep everybody on their toes and to understand that build failures was going to impact a lot of development teams' work and also delay the release process. So this was what we followed in our application. So the next question is, a team member accidentally overwrites critical code during a check-in the GitHub. How would you handle the situation to recover the lost code and prevent similar situations in future? Explain your strategy for managing version control and ensuring code integrity. Okay, so this question was also asked in one of the interview questions, it seems, and so the first thing is, this actually happened, and it is a day in day out thing which keeps happening till the development practices and the merging practices are not foolproof and place with all members trained, right? So a very new member in our team actually committed the overwritten the code of an existing code base. So the next question is, after a recent deployment, a critical bug is discovered that requires an immediate rollback. How would you manage the rollback process to ensure minimal disruption to users and maintain system stability? Describe the steps you would take and how would you communicate with stakeholders. So this is this happened with us where we actually deployed the code and the entire file encryption failed, right? So the first thing what we do in this case is roll back to the last stable release. We connected with our DevOps, ensured that the rollback the release branches which were mentioned as the rollback, we could deploy that, and any DB scripts or anything, just roll back to the last stable release, right? So in coordination with our DevOps team, communicate. We have to be very transparent in such case where we communicated with all stakeholders, the merchants, the senior management, and once the development was in progress, we kept on like the rollback was in progress, we kept on informing them about what is the progress, is the what is the downtime impact, how much is actually the current stability. So all those information needs to be keep going and transparent, where as a scrum master, project manager is very important and crucial role in this case. The next thing is why this happened. So when we were doing our analysis, we identified that the encryption could not be conducted in the lower environment due to the servers being different and the environments being different, and those infra things couldn't be done on the lower environment because of system mismatch. So what we did was we revisited our definition of done. For such scenarios, what do we do? Was the end-to-end testing enough? How can we test it better? We also identified that the code which we were checking was pointing to a simulator code. So we ensured that the going further in all the release cycles, we are going to actually code it, test it on the real-time responses and not just the simulator one. So that helped us gain back and improve further opportunities as well. So the next question is, a severity 1 issue has occurred in production due to recent release, causing significant downtime. How would you lead the team in resolving this issue quickly and effectively? Explain your approach to incident management and post-incident analysis. So the first thing is to actually communicate with all the stakeholders that what has happened. If there are any changes needed to actually deploy the code in production, or whatever the change processes we do have an incident management in place, where we actually have to follow to check anything in production or to even roll back the code. So all those processes, communication with the stakeholders, getting the required approvals, everything was in place to ensure that we deploy the last release code. We this incident with us happened where there was two cross-functional teams. We got everybody on the call engaged with a war room where everybody just quickly checked what could be the possible issue. Once that was done, detailed root cause analysis was done, and parallelly the code was being rolled back. What is the impact of actually the downtime and the dollar impact or any impact which is there in the particular application needs to be communicated out very clearly to all the stakeholders and the customers. The next thing what we did was we included those alerts, which was actually the dashboards were not set up for those alerts. So we had set up for early detection going forward. When getting those alerts, we could actually action more promptly. This was more like a post-mortem rather than a precaution thing. So this is what we implemented for future releases. And the lessons learned were shared with the and the prevention strategies were shared with the wider audience. We also included the test cases which were actually low priority, and that is why got missed out during the regression cycle. We elevated its priority as high so that in future releases these kind of scenarios do come into picture. Also, we did a precautionary step of analyzing all the the low and the medium priority test cases. If there's anything, any critical functionality which has gone due to which their priority needs to be raised, so that was done. So with all these measures, we could actually prevent any further big downtimes going future into production. So the next question is, your team is experiencing frequent failures in continuous integration CI pipeline. How would you diagnose and resolve these failures to ensure a smooth CI process? Describe your approach to maintain a reliable CI pipeline. So the first thing is define the SLAs, train the teams, and the code review process should be very standardized, and um, it should enhance the quality of the reviews across teams, right? So these kind of level agreements across teams, especially if there are multiple teams working on the same code base, it is very important and crucial. The development guidelines should be very clear. The next thing is the peer reviews should be strict, should be the so we have implemented two peer reviews, and one person has only the liberty to merge it in the master, right? So the number of eyes, which now it should not be too much so that it doesn't get ever completed, but it should be enough so that uh, there's a good quality of code after multiple reviews. uh, so the development guidelines or anything, the best practices which are being approached. So what we do was, once in a week there is one team presenting the best practices they have been following. So that way it is a continuous learning and a knowledge sharing session which helps our teams to be on track to follow the best practices, and to also leverage from each other the knowledge which the other team has gained. So the another incident which I would like to call out was, there was a lot of flaky test, and it was continuously failing in CI. So we mocked the entire response so that the CI failures gets reduced, and so it actually reduced by 30% or so. So that really helped us to complete the builds faster, and the executions also faster. So yeah. So the next question is, critical bug is discovered in production that requires an immediate hotfix. How would you manage the deployment of this hotfix to ensure it is applied quickly and safely? Describe your approach to coordinating with the teams and minimizing the risk. So the first thing is, identify and triage the bug. With what exactly is the issue? If we have identified the fix, that's very good. The next thing we'll do is, we'll create a dedicated hotfix branch. So before even that, it is very important to have a stable main branch, which we know in case of issues we can just pull it out and we can put the changes and we can deploy. So that kind of prerequisite should be in place. So once that is there, we know what is the last code which has gone into production. The main branch is there. We will create a hotfix branch from there and just put the relevant changes which is needed to fix this issue, and not everything what you want to be deployed in the release, right? So once that is, then we'll so in our case what we did was, two developers just pair programmed for straight data straight, and then there was another who was continuously reviewing, once that preparing the test data and ensuring that once the code is ready we will just execute the test cases. So that ways it was a team collaboration. So we implemented and we reviewed the fix, tested it thoroughly, positive, negative, any automations which needs to be done. Then we deployed a rollback plan as well in case of issues encountered, which branch to be deployed, what to be done. So all those kind of, in the change management itself, the rollback plan was in place. The role of the scrum master or the project manager here is to communicate very clearly to the business side and the stakeholders that what exactly is the impact and how long will it take to fix the code in the production. Uh, we expedited all the approvals needed to deploy into the production, and once the code was deployed, proper alerting and alerting mechanism was in place so that any issues encountered team can action proactively. So all those log checkings and everything was happening proactively, so that the hotfix which is deployed is proper and adds business value. Okay, so the next question is, automated tests are failing frequently, causing delays in development process. How would you address this failure and improve the reliability of automated testing? Describe your approach to maintaining a robust test suite. So, unstable tests are a major bottleneck, right? So what we need to do is we either fix it or quarantine them. So those test cases would not even execute. So address flaky test promptly is the first thing we need to do. So that in our case, what happened was there were a lot of test cases which were actually automated but were not working when the regression was executed. So we tagged it as maintenance and removed it from the test suite so that at least the rest of the automation works fine. So and every sprint, three pointers were given to each teams so that they can fix the automation from the backlog with that maintenance tags. So that helped us continuously improve also, but also improve the runtime of the execution of the test cases and regression, right? So the next thing is use containerized environments or sandbox to eliminate variability. Right. So the test environment, what we are executing here, that the things might be different in another environment. So we need to ensure that the environment is consistent, the data is consistent, so that same kind of behavior and output is received when those test cases are executed. So optimize the test scope. So let's say suppose when I build my CI, there are few test cases, the smoke tests which are comprehensive and they run when it's necessary. So that ways, so so we at least know the sanity is in place, but the detailed entire thing will only be executed when it is necessary. So in our case, it's a regression cycle, especially where all the test cases in the scope gets executed. But rest, we just for the sanity, we just do the smoke testing with a fewer set, the critical ones, but with a fewer set. Then we need to track the matrix, like what is the failure rate. So once we execute the regression, we check in the dashboard that first time when we executed, was it 50% of the test cases which were executed, 80% or 0%. So that ways it gives us the apps on which we need to work more and improve the dashboard, and the next regression cycle we just compare the numbers, are we any better, because we also have points in each sprint, right, where we are improving on the maintenance test cases. So that ways we just start checking that if there is any improvement or we are still at the same stage, regression by regression. uh, so um, so we do have T-shaped teams and there is no QA or developer as such in the team, but there is a skill set which any person in the team is owning. So we need to ensure that there's a proper collaboration and there's a robust, uh, dependable suite which can be executed and depended upon for a good quality code. So the next question is, your team is integrating a new feature into a complex legacy system that has minimal documentation. How would you approach this integration to ensure minimal disruption and successful implementation? Please describe the steps you would take, the challenges you might anticipate, and how would you address them. So the first thing is, there are currently a lot of tools which is there in the market where you can actually use to generate the documentation, which is the reverse engineering tool. um, the next thing is to pair up a senior member with a new member, so that if anybody in the legacy system has actually worked on but has not documented, that's fine. But if there's any member who has an experience, the pair programming can be done. So that ways it will be like a more like a knowledge sharing, and plus the documentation can be taken up by the new team members who are actually working on it, along with the members who have already worked on it. So we can generate a comprehensive documentation on that, and that should be a continuous process. The next thing is, even when we are developing and we are 100% sure of what we are developing, we should be enabling feature toggles. What is that? Is in production, when we go, if there's an issue, we can actually switch in and switch off. So it should be a configuration based change, which we can toggle into the production. So there was a very complex thing which was going into the production, and we feature and build the feature flag at the last moment, just to ensure if there's anything which is hampering the existing code, we can actually just toggle the feature flag, and stop the functionality from working in production. The next thing is regression testing. It should be thoroughly tested across all possible ways, staging environments we can use for our testing, or any other integrated environment, IST or whatever environment is there. We should be using that for a robust testing across engines. The next thing is it should not be like 3 or 4 months of code is going together. It should be an incremental rollout. See what feedback we are getting and then roll out the next version. So that ways the incremental rollouts will help us, not causing big issues but giving smaller values. The continuous documentation, which we have already spoken about. So these are the main things. Pair programming really helps in case where we don't have so the legacy application which we were working on did not even have a documentation. The tech stack did not have the documentation even in Google. So such kind of scenarios do come, but experienced members, pairing programmers, incremental rollouts, feature flag enablement, this will definitely help us uh, build quality code. So thank you very much for hearing this session out. If you have any queries or concerns, please do drop it into the comment section. Also, if you have any other best practices which you would like to share with the wider audience, please feel free to do so. Thank you, take care, and bye bye.